All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're dialing in from. Although I guess many of you will be from North America, since this is a North America directed session. But welcome everybody to our webinar on trying to bring AI actually into the hands of marketers. So we've all heard a lot of hype about how AI is changing the game. We've all heard about how it can really level up your marketing. But here today we're going to actually show you how it can be done. Before we get started, just a few very high level housekeeping items. So this session will be recorded. You'll get a recording of the session towards the end. It'll be sent as a follow-up. There will also be Q&A. We have some time for Q&A at the end, but if at any point you have any questions you'd like to raise for us, just use the Q&A tab. You see it on the right-hand side of your screen. And actually, even before we get into the Q&A, one thing we do like to do with these sessions is ask just where are people dialing in from. So there's a little chat on the right-hand side as well. So just drop in where you are dialing in from. We love to see that for these sessions. Toronto, Brooklyn, NYC. I'm normally in New York City, but today I'm in Virginia, London, Florida, Cleveland, Chicago, Quebec, prison, Wisconsin. I'm glad that they let you join the sessions from prison. All right, awesome. Happy to see so many of you here and live today. Yeah, again, at any point, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in Q&A. Feel free to interact with us in chat as well. But all right, let's get started with the meat of of what we'll be doing today. So first of all, some quick introductions are in order. My name's Alex. I'm the director of product marketing here at Supermetrics. Been at the business around 4 years or so, and recently been working a lot with our wonderful co-host here, Alan, on some of our AI releases. Alan, you want to give a quick word on yourself as well?
Yeah, thank you, Alex. Hi, everyone. My name is Alon. I'm based out of London. I'm VP of Product Innovation at Supermetrics. I'm mainly responsible for all new technologies, mainly AI and data. And I'm super excited to be here today and talk to you about some practical AI for marketers and data analysts.
Yeah, let's actually show them how this thing can be done. Um, Really quickly on the flow of the agenda. So we'll take just a few minutes here from the beginning to talk about kind of the state of AI in marketing, some of the research we've been doing, and how we have chosen to address it here at Supermetrics. Then we're going to jump right into actual live ways that you can use AI in your marketing day to day, typically powered by Supermetrics, but also using a host of other solutions and integrations. And then we'll take a bit of a look ahead. You'll see what we're working on and what's kind of coming out next, and then obviously Q&A towards the end. But again, feel free to drop in questions at any point throughout the session. All right, so let's get started with the state of AI in marketing. And what we want to start off with is about 12 months ago, we released our 2025 marketing data report. So that outlined a number of challenges that marketers and marketing leaders were facing in their marketing reporting and just overall in marketing. So like teams are asked to do more with less. Most of us are still using last click attribution models, even though we're losing signal. And a lot of CMOs were feeling like they couldn't properly quantify and optimize their marketing challenges. We all kind of are somewhat aware of. But the one I really wanted to zero down on is this last one, and it's the use of AI. So AI is often quoted as, the solution to all of our problems, but based on the study we ran and the people we were discussing with, it seems like a lot of us aren't yet using it properly, or at least don't feel like we're using it properly. So actually, with that in mind, before we get into any of the actual meat of the presentation, we'd like to ask you, you'll see a bit of a poll pop up in just a second. So how are you using AI or agentic AI, and specifically in marketing? Are you writing copy? Are you managing projects, insights? Are you managing ad campaigns? And if you're doing something else, if you select other, drop it in the chat over on the right-hand side. We'd love to see what you're doing with AI today. That'll also help us build better solutions in the future. Looks like insights research is winning right now, managing ad campaigns. Nobody's managing projects. Okay, that's interesting. Writing copy. I would have imagined that writing copy would be the most popular. I know I do a lot of copywriting using using our friends over at OpenAI and Gemini. Um, Jessica says help in copywriting and researching top. Yeah, research is a big one. Yes, yes, yes. All right, good stuff. Um, well, again, there are a bunch of ways that you could use AI in marketing and and ways that we could deploy it. But one of the bottlenecks we've noticed is that it's hard to get off the ground to start with, other than some simple, you know, LLM use. So with that in mind, to help ourselves in marketing as well as the rest of the marketers out there use AI better, we started building Supermetrics AI. And Supermetrics AI really has two tracks. It has our in-platform Supermetrics agents, so you can log into Supermetrics, play around with there, and get get insights directly inside. And our the other track is the AI ecosystem integrations through stuff like our MCP and working with other tools like N8N, Make, Zapier, etc. We'll show examples of both of these tracks today, so you can actually see how they tangibly work and feel. Um, but before we do that, I also want to outline like the key with this strategy and our AI strategy here at Supermetrics is the foundational pillars that they're built on. So the stuff you see there at the bottom, because a lot of you might be wondering that how is Supermetrics AI different than a standard GPT wrapper that's out there? And that would be a valid question. So the issue with GPT wrappers is that they're kind of like generalist AI, and generalist AI isn't trained properly on marketing. It's just a statistical generalist. It might not understand, if you have a campaign that had a great CTR, like an awareness campaign that had a great CTR, which is a success, it might not understand that if you have a conversion campaign that has that same high CTR but didn't lead to any sales, it might not understand that that was a failure. So basically, that leads to answers that sound like they're correct, but they're dangerously wrong when you consider, your marketing data and your marketing strategy. So to help with that, we built out these pillars that kind of make sure that the AI, the LLMs, whatever you're working with, have the best possible tools to get the job done. The data foundation is super crucial. We have years of experience in moving data and cleaning it and harmonizing it. We can ensure that it's in the proper format. We also have around 15 years of marketing data expertise. The company's been running for a long time. So we actually have a ton of knowledge on these types of relationships that I was, for example, mentioning a relationship between CTR, conversion, and actual sales. We also use guardrails. For example, we make sure that an LLM is never doing math. We have, our own algorithms for that. So this means basically that you won't have numerical errors and takes it from to a professional tool rather than a toy. And then finally, something I mentioned earlier is that it's very, very composable. You can use it inside of Supermetrics, or you can build it out in Claude, in Gemini Enterprise, et cetera, et cetera. So really bringing it to wherever you're working. But long story short, a GPT wrapper is kind of a generalist toy, whereas Supermetrics AI is more of like an expert system that has underlying guardrails that help produce great results. All right, with all of that out of the way, let's start actually looking at how this actually tangibly can look like in marketing. So with that, Alan, maybe you want to kick us off with some examples.
Yeah, sure. So just to give you some high level on what we build at Supermetrics. So at Supermetrics, you can connect any marketing data source and then use it inside of Supermetrics to analyze it, to transform the data, to blend the data, and then you can send this data into Looker Studio, into a spreadsheet, or you can use our new MCP and APIs to actually use this data in different surfaces. So one of these surfaces is an automation tool that you probably heard of called N8N. And this tool helps you build workflows. It's similar to Zapier and to Make, which we also have integrations with. But in this example workflow, what we did here is we basically built a workflow that is looking at your meetings and checks if you have meetings with any clients the next day, assuming that you're an agency, checks if you have meetings with clients the next day, and then it goes to your data sources, to all of your clients' ad accounts and analytics, and and it can be CRM tools, and it pulls all the data and it builds a brief for you for this meeting automatically, and then it emails you this meeting brief, and it can run every night. Or for example, what you can also do, if you need to send a report to your colleagues, to your managers, to your clients on Monday. We've all been that. Been there. Many of us at Supermetrics, we used to work at agencies. We used to be marketers. Some of us are still marketers. So we feel this pain. So every Monday when you have to compose this weekly report and send it to your colleagues or to your clients, then you can set up this automation that will just go fetch all the relevant data and just build this report for you and send it over to you or to your or to anyone that you need to send it to. Next one, please. This is an example for an email that you will get once running this kind of workflow. Later on, I will show you how exactly we are connecting data sources into Supermetrics and then use it somewhere else. But this is a small example to show you how you can build workflows that are using your data in a very smart and advanced way. Next one, please. Not sure if you've seen the announcements a few weeks ago, but Google released Gemini Enterprise. They used to call it Agent Space, and they released Gemini Enterprise. So basically, Gemini Enterprise is an LLM, is an agentic environment for businesses that actually combines all of the enterprise knowledge and sources like Gmail and Drive and Sheets and Calendar with external search and with external data sources that you can connect to your enterprise environment. So we built an agent for Gemini Enterprise. We are one of the few launch partners of Google in this sense, and we built an agent that helps you to connect all of your marketing data sources to your enterprise environment. So, for example, in this example here, you can see that I'm asking the agent, I'm asking my assistant, did I get any emails from Peggy Olson? And then, yes, you have received a couple of emails from Peggy. Here are the summary of the most recent ones. And then it shows me a couple of emails that I received. One of them is Peggy asking if I can send her the clicks for the last 7 days for one of the brands that we are managing, and the second one, if I can send the last 7 days campaign results for Facebook and Google Ads accounts. Um, Next one. And then basically what I can do is I can just answer the second email, and also add analysis and channel comparison and actionable insights and top priorities. So basically, what our agent is doing inside of Gemini Enterprise, it goes and it fetches the relevant data for this client for the specific period that we are talking about, for the specific channels, and then it composes the email. It drafts the entire email, with the intro and the outro and everything in between. And you can see that it just brings in and shows all of the metrics. Next one, please, Alex. You can see that it also provides analysis and channel comparison, and also the actionable insights and top priorities, like I asked it to. So basically, what we did, we built an agent with a lot of knowledge and wisdom of top marketing analysts or top marketers, because what we've been doing in the past 15 years, we've been working with marketers, and we've been helping marketers to achieve their goals and to use their data. So we know what good marketing looks like. So we brought all of this knowledge together, and we trained our own agents, and then we built those agents, and then we connected all the data to those agents to really help marketer to have a true companion to help them with everything they need to do. And another thing that is extremely important is that once we are using data, we cannot allow LLMs to hallucinate numbers. So we invested a lot of time and a lot of effort to build those guardrails and those evals, doing these evaluations, to make sure that the numbers that we are showing and the numbers that we are sending, through those channels are actually correct, complete, and verified. Um, Next one, please, Alex. Yeah, so you can see that it just compose the entire email, that I can just look at it. I can maybe change some minor things, and then I can just send it to the client. Those of you who know, who prepare these reports to their clients, to their managers, to their peers, they know how long it takes to actually gather all this data and then to draft those reports, or those emails. So the idea here is that agents are not replacing us. Agents are just helping us doing the work that we know how to do, and then we can just look at it, we can verify it, and it leaves us a lot of time to think about all the other creative tasks that we need to complete. Maybe I can just switch over and show you this live um,
This,
live demo.
yeah, this is where the magic happens, given all the Cloudflare issues today. So hopefully
Yeah.
everybody's been enjoying Cloudflare outage day.
All right, let's
We
see.
tested to make sure that everything was working still. So
Yes. Can you see my screen?
yes.
All right. So basically, what I would like to show you is, if I go for a second to my if I go for a second to my Supermetrics hub. Can you see the hub?
Yep.
All right. So basically, here under data sources, I can connect various different data sources. So I connected my Google ads, I connected, BigQuery, I can connect Facebook ads, and also Google Analytics, also Shopify. And as you can see here, you can connect almost any marketing data source that you are working with. And if you cannot find it here, you can just connect it as a custom data source. But basically, you can connect anything you like to Supermetrics. And once you connect this data source, then it becomes instantly available through our MCP. So I know that all of you probably you've heard the term MCP. So just for those of you who couldn't really wrap the head around it, basically, if you're familiar with API, with a programmatic way to connect to systems and to pull data, MCP is basically a very structured way to work with APIs, and basically it adds this semantic layer that helps LLMs like Claude or ChatGPT to understand how these APIs work and what exactly are the capabilities. So at Supermetrics, we built, and this is, by the way, this is public. So if you have a Supermetrics account and you have access to our APIs, you can start using this immediately. You don't have to wait. This is already available. So if I go to settings and I go to connectors, then you can see that I can connect many services to Claude, but this is Supermetrics. This is the API, and basically it is configured to use different tools that the MCP provides. And then once I go to Claude and I ask something like, "Hi, can you please um, provide me with the performance data for the past 7 days for Tesoro, Facebook, and Google Ads account." So basically, Tesoro is our demo account. Um, and then when I hit enter, Claude knows which tools to use. So Claude, you'll see in a second, Claude understands that it needs to use Supermetrics MCP that is connected to it. If I click on this, you can see what is happening under the hood. So basically, Claude goes and it fetches all of the available data sources. You can see, Microsoft and Bing, and and Amazon, and and a few others. And then it goes and it fetches FA. FA is basically Facebook ads, in the supermetrics terminology. And then we'll give it a second more to see what it will do.
You're getting a good intro to
Yes,
metrics
yeah,
internal lingo,
yeah.
like you say.
Yes, there we go. Yeah, I really want you to see what it looks like, as a live demo. I want you to see that it doesn't take so much time. That's why we insist on this live demo, so you can see how it actually works. Like any other demo, some issues can happen, definitely, with everything that's going on in the internet today. But let's see what's going on. If it's done, you know what? While we're waiting, let me take you to a conversation. Oh, there we go. You see, account discovery, it's still working. But in the meantime, just so you see, it's going on, it's finding, and it's getting today, because it's really important, to have the right date. Like I told you before, we invest a lot in making sure that the data, that we're fetching is complete, and it is verified, to make sure that what you see is not being hallucinated by the LLM. Let me quickly skip um, to another tab, just to show you how it looks like. Can you see the other tab?
Yeah.
All right. So you see, it's very much the same conversation. So it fetched all the numbers, and it fetched the impressions and the link clicks and the cost and the reach, and 7 day summary. And then it brought the same thing, for I asked it to um, provide me, like, a breakdown, for full funnel metrics. And this is an e-com store, so I have the top funnel, the awareness and considerations, and then the bottom of the funnel. You can see that it knows without me even saying that, the bottom of the funnel is purchases or leads. So it knows everything, and it can brings the purchase value. It knows how to calculate ROAS automatically. I don't even have to tell it how to do it. It did the same thing for Google Ads. You can see it here, and then I can get key insights and comparison. You can see I can, compares, both channels, and it provides me an analysis on which channel is more efficient. And then when the nice, then I can ask it, just to visualize the data, and then it just creates, let me see, thought process, and then it just summarizes all the data. And then when I click on this, you can see that it created, basically, a dashboard on the fly, with all the relevant, numbers, with all the relevant graphs and charts. It shows how things look like across 7 days, key metrics, revenue distribution. It can also mark which channel works, better than the other, plus key insights. And if I go back to our previous chat, you see it's still working, and we know that the internet is a bit slower today, but it's still working. It still fetches all the data. Um, but I think that the most important thing is that what you can see here. So basically, you have a true helper that you can also train. By the way, you can also add some custom instructions, and you can also provide your own custom template of a report if you want it to produce the report for you in a specific way, the way that your agency or your company works with. So once you have all of your data sources connected, and I'll go back to Supermetrics. Once you have all your data sources connected, then everything becomes available automatically in ChatGPT, in Claude, in Gemini Enterprise. Everywhere you walk, you have access to all of your data sources, and it turns your your Claude or ChatGPT, the LLM that you work with, into a true powerful tool. Because as I could see earlier, you're using it for for copy, or for summaries, and a few other tasks. But this really helps you to to work with your data. Over to you, Alex.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Thank you. And there's a good question actually in chat that popped up while you're running through this, which is like, is Supermetrics AI only available through Claude? And no, it's available through a number of different systems. Claude was just one example here. You can use it in Gemini. You can use it in services like N8N that Alan was talking about earlier. Basically, any service that can accept an MCP or a model context protocol can be
Yeah,
it can be used with. So you can
yeah.
go wild with it.
Yeah, currently we recommend on using it with Gemini Enterprise if your enterprise has purchased the seats from Google, and we highly recommend for you to check it out. It's also not very expensive. And the second recommendation would be Claude. It works better with Claude in terms of Claude doesn't ask you for permission every time it goes and uses one of our tools, unlike ChatGPT. So this is currently our recommendation, but again, things change really every week. So next week it will be enabled to will be allowed to use it more freely in ChatGPT. So just keep your eyes open.
New places are popping up essentially every day and where it can be used. All right. Well,
Um,
yeah,
I
go ahead.
think that I see another question. Can you pick program reports using the LLM versus query? To auto create this report? Yes, definitely in Gemini Enterprise, but also in Claude. You can once you show Claude the template of the report that you want to use, it can fetch the data and just create it in the template that you like.
And actually, just since we're on the topic of the MCP, there was one more question in Q&A that can this be done via Claude Skill as well, or is it just using the MCP? I'm not sure if you're able to answer that one, Alan.
Um, yeah, so Claude Skill adds another layer of expertise on top of it. We are currently looking into this. Um, I would check with us in maybe a couple of weeks.
Yeah, yeah. We'll follow up with more detailed answers to these questions as well.
Yes. And as
Um,
for the next question, is the best use case to pull all data into CDP or data lake and then have supermetrics? You can actually do it because we have connectors. We have connectors at supermetrics to data lakes, like BigQuery and a few other major vendors, and you can just have have these connected to supermetrics and then to Supermetrics. You can use it inside of Supermetrics AI in our Insights agent, or use it with Claude.
mhm, mhm. All right. Let me move on to the in-platform demonstration of this. And there's a couple of good questions, Chris,
Yeah,
for example, about plans, etc. We'll get to all of that
definitely. Yeah,
towards the end. But now, yes, we saw the kind of ecosystem side of this, how it can work in Claude, how it can work in Gemini, etc. But as I mentioned in the beginning, we also have our in-platform AI functionality that we're releasing in increasing amounts. So let me hop over to my. Hopefully, you can see my screen now. You should be able to. So I'm here in the Supermetrics Hub. If you're a Supermetrics customer, you are probably familiar with this view. We're adding new and new stuff to this basically every week. I've seen a couple Supermetrics customers in the chat, so I know some of you are familiar with this. But now, um, if you are enrolled, so what I'll show you is essentially our Insights agent. And the Insights agent lives here under Analyze. It's only visible if you're enrolled into the beta. So for now, it's still a beta feature. We'll ask about willingness to participate in the beta towards the end of the session. Don't worry about that. But basically, when you are in the beta, you can see it here. So now when I click over to that, there's a bit of an interface just telling you what you can do with this offering. And if I open it up, I can start actually asking it for information. And now you see I have a couple chats I've already had here, just for redundancy's sake as well. But what I'll do is I'll just start creating a new insights board from scratch. And what that does, it's essentially a natural language chat interface. You can see that it gives you some suggested prompts, some stuff that you could start looking at. I have one that I've written beforehand, so I'll just get it working on that. Asking about the Tesoro, the demo account ad performance. I'm also asking it for some outside of core metrics, just some purchasing metrics as well, like website purchases. And I also want to know our cost per purchase on a campaign level. You'll see why in just a second. But while it's working on that, and I'll also switch over. This first query is typically the longest one because it goes to the systems, it asks for the information, and it's doing a lot of thinking in the background. So while we're waiting for it to work on that, I'll hop to another tab where I had a very similar conversation. So I asked for performance trends on the Tesoro ad account for Facebook ads. It loaded some information. Then I asked it specifically for those purchase and funnel metrics and cost per purchase. I also asked it for some demographics breakdowns, which you see here as well. So after having these chats, it basically started pulling all this information into a board, and these boards look completely different based on how you're interacting with the agent. For me, it pulled all the kind of core metrics at top. It gave me my gender breakdown and my demographics breakdown, and then it gave me that cost per purchase that I was interested in. Um, and really, you can ask it to visualize this in a chart. You can ask it for tables, all sorts of different stuff. But at its core, it all depends on how you interact with this agent. So now, let me actually hop back to that original chat. You see that it's pulled up. It's pulled very similar looking metrics into this board. It got my cost per purchase, which is the same. Good. It had the same numbers. It didn't hallucinate. And it gave me kind of a cost metric over time development. Now, the really cool thing here, and again, this is just a really brief, quick, simple example. But another thing I can ask it to do is, based off of the information that it now has at hand, I would just like a short email, kind of similar to what Alan was talking about earlier. Like, just generate me a short email with some key insights, some key recommendations, what we should be doing with our marketing spend and our marketing like our marketing performance. And the response depends a little on the type of chat you've been having. Here, given that I asked again about cost per purchase, it's likely going to give me recommendations on how to optimize for that. So let's see what it did. Hi team, here's some key insights for the performance. The Advantage Plus campaign is the top performer. It has generated most of the purchases at $200 per purchase. The DPA 2025 campaign isn't efficient. It's just one purchase at $900 per purchase. So basically, we have an opportunity to optimize. It's going to recommend that we pause that DPA 2025 campaign and reallocate the budget to the Advantage Plus campaign. Now, obviously, given that this is a demo account that just has 2 campaigns running, the recommendations are quite simple and quite black and white. It just looks at, this is higher than the other, or this is a better result than the other, so it can optimize for that. But the more ad accounts you have in here, the more campaigns you have running, the better it is at understanding, optimal budget allocation. It knows that you don't want to just do 100% of your budget on one campaign. It can start, giving you proper breakdowns. But yeah, this is in a nutshell. I won't go too far into like having an extensive chat, but I could ask it to give me this email in Spanish, for example, if my manager was Spanish. But it's really cool to see that with this type of simple integration, again, just using those Supermetrics data sources that were connected, that Alan showed in the beginning, you can start having conversations with your data directly inside Supermetrics as well. All right, let's quickly, because I know we're getting close to time here, so we also
Okay.
want to save time for
Alex,
questions.
yes.
Yeah, go ahead,
So
Alan.
one thing that I would like to add, the main difference between working with cloud or working inside our our hub, the Supermetrics hub, is that, like Alex said before, these tools, the LLMs are generalists. So once we provide them, with the MCP and with our agents, we bring them closer, to be a dedicated, agent, to work with marketing. But once we also use our own interface, once we also use our own environment, we can do so much more. I'm talking about Supermetrics and how we help marketers. We can do so much more, with all the components that we share in the UI, that we share in the dashboard, that will help you as marketer to do so much more with your data. So this is the main difference between working inside our environment or working outside, in Claude or ChatGPT. But again, we encourage everyone to work wherever it's the most comfortable for. Really, just use. We allow you to use your data just anywhere.
Exactly. And that's been the Supermetrics philosophy from day one, right? We want you to work in the tools that you're already using, that you're already the most comfortable with. So we've carried out that same philosophy here. All right. Before we get into kind of what we're working on next at Supermetrics in terms of AI, I'd just like to make a shout out that in case you've seen anything that really sparks your interest that you'd like to try out at your own organization, there'll be a bit of a poll again that pops up now that is asking if you would like to be contacted by one of our AI experts to use Supermetrics AI and get started with Supermetrics AI. Feel free to raise your hand. But like Alan mentioned, a lot of this functionality, depending on your plan, and we'll get to that in just a second in Q&A, you may already have access to some of these things. The Insights agent you will need to be enrolled into, but for example, the MCP, if you're on one of our API plans, for example, you already will be able to leverage this. But yeah, really quickly before we do Q&A, just some of the things that we're working on for the future. Alan already mentioned NAN, but we're continuing to add more of these AI-based workflow tools, these tools that can allow you to automate and just do some of that routine work for you on a recurring basis. Because one of the things with just pure LLM use, for example, is that you kind of prompt it once, and sometimes you can set it to run that prompt again and again, but it's not very intelligent in terms of do this, then do that, then build an email for me and send it directly to my clients, for example. So we're investing a lot into these workflow automation integrations. Another bit where we're continuing to develop our agentic capabilities is on the connector builder side, or actually the data source builder side. So as you know, we have a bunch of pre-built data sources. We also have our custom data import functionality that allows you to essentially connect data from anywhere. But we know that there are going to be tools that you would like to have a native integration to that we may not offer. So, or at least offer out of the box. So with the connector agent, and I've already seen versions of this where you basically give it an API document, like some API documentation, and it goes and builds a connector for you, quality tests it, quality controls it, and make sure it's ready for use. So this will take the ability for something that requires a significant amount of man hours in terms of churning out a data source will be reduced to essentially hours. And it's something we also hope to make available for our partners and customers as well in the future. Another big one, really interesting one that we're working on is this data quality agent. I've presented this slide to a number of customers already, and they've all been very excited because it can automatically monitor the quality of, for example, your your campaign naming conventions. It can make sure that campaigns that have a misaligned campaign name don't hit your data warehouse, for example, or don't get, they're automatically fixed and cleaned before they go into your reporting. So you can use those campaign naming conventions to properly segment. And this is a surprisingly big issue for people around the world. Just having your data having your data quality to the point where you can actually use it for your reporting is something that we want to have, agentic capabilities around. And then the last one I wanted to highlight here is a workflow agent. So we're also working on building this kind of workflow automation functionality inside of Supermetrics, and that's something that we're working on for next year. But yeah, with that, really what we're trying to do with Supermetrics AI is build this kind of one network of applications that sits at the center of your data operations, but then can really be spanned out. You can, again, using either directly inside Supermetrics or in any of the platforms you already use in order to really benefit from marketing data in AI, not just exporting a spreadsheet, giving it to ChatGPT and asking it to run an analysis. What we're trying to do is build a system that is actually intelligent and can actually give you recurring proper recommendations. All right, with that, we still have a few minutes here for Q&A. I don't know, Alan, were you looking at any of the
Yeah,
questions in a tab that you'd
yeah,
like to take?
yeah. We have a couple of questions here. So, how does this handle awareness versus conversion tactic comparison? So, basically, what we did here is we've been looking at the data that we've been collecting for the past 15 years, based on different industries, different sizes of company sizes, etc., and different territories, and then we built um, best practices, best tactics, and that's what we've been feeding, our agents. We still have a lot of work to do there, but the thing is that I'm not sure if I can answer this question now, but would be great if you could, take our agent, for a test drive, give it a try, and we are always open to feedback. So please do. Can we compare results from months to months? Yeah, absolutely. For months to months, no, and even longer than that. So if you do have the data lying in your accounts, so if you need to plan your Christmas campaign now and you want to check the results for last year, but you also want to understand what kind of factors were added in the past year. Sometimes CPM costs increased, and some other factors that might impact your next campaign. So basically, you can do all of that. You can ask the agent to go and fetch the data from last year, from specific campaigns, for specific territories or audiences, and then try to figure out if there were any seasonal changes or environmental changes that might affect your next campaign, and then just ask the agent to plan your next campaign. You can tell the agent, hey, I have a budget of $100,000. What kind of performance should I expect with this kind of money? Or you can say that I need X conversions or X clicks or X views. How much do I need to spend to get to these results?
Yeah.
And we all know how long those tasks take. Sometimes it can come to days. How can you bake in internal benchmarks from which AI platform can you can provide context. I'm replying to Joe's question. You can provide context, and you can ask the agent to look at a PDF or any other report that you prepared, and ask and just provide the context and say, hey, this is our internal benchmarks, and you can ask it to get an idea from this data, to get the benchmark from this data. And this is something that is important. If you're working with Claude or with ChatGPT, be mindful if you want to share any internal or confidential data with it. But if you're working with Gemini Enterprise, then it means that your data stays confidential and not being used to train any models.
Exactly. There's one more question that I'll just touch. I kind of alluded to this already. It's in the Q&A tab from Chris Pollock. So how do I know if this is available under my current plan? Um, for now, while the Insights agent is in beta, you'll need to reach out to us and ask to be enrolled. For now, it's just we're handpicking a few beta customers to test it out with us. And for the MCP stuff, like Alan was mentioning, that's already available for basically for anybody to use if you have access to our data API. The data API access for now is mainly on some of our higher enterprise tiers. So, but we're planning to relax that requirement in the future. So transparently, these inclusions in different plans may change over time. What I'd advise is just if you have for example, if you have a CSM, reach out to them, see about access. If you don't have a CSM, just contact our support, or you can even message me on LinkedIn, and I can help figure that out for you on based on your team ID, for example. All right. But with that, we are at time. So just would like to thank everybody. There's still a bunch of questions we didn't have time to get to, but we'll follow up hopefully with some responses to the questions we didn't have time for. Again, session is recorded. We will send that over. But with that, again, thanks everybody for joining, and stay tuned for more cool AI stuff coming out of Supermetrics.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.